We're here at the outdoor trade show in Liverpool, where we will be looking at the latest climbing shoes. Scarpa have updated the Veloce, with the Veloce V coming out later this year in November, and the Veloce Lace coming out in spring/summer 27. Now, the best thing about the original Veloce was that they were extremely comfortable and offered a really good level of performance. They were a shoe that you put on and knew immediately that they were going to be really good fun to climb in. Now, the update primarily revolves around the fit, with big changes to the heel. Now, Scarpa have done what they have traditionally done and drawn down features from the top-end models like the Drago and applied it to the Veloce. So it's about a 25% reduction in volume. And it's also got that amazing Alcantara material on the back, as well as a bit of padding. So the second you put your foot in, it feels both secure and really comfortable against the back of your foot. It also helps the shoe retain its shape, because the original did stretch and give a little whilst you were using it. Not least because it features Scarpa's S72 rubber. And this is the really sticky, soft stuff. The other big change comes to the V, insofar as the strap is now made of a TPU material, which is much more rigid than the previous version, allowing you to get a much more precise fit. The last version of the lace-up was a staff favourite at UKC, and it will be interesting to see how the V in particular performs in comparison. Spring/summer 27, Scarpa are releasing the Gecko V. Now, this is designed as an entry-level do-it-all model. So you could do trad climbing, sport climbing, and bouldering, both indoors and out within it. First and foremost, it's designed to be comfortable, and little details like the padding around the heel really enable that. It also features Scarpa's S78 rubber. Now, you might be familiar with the S72 rubber, which is their super soft and sticky compound. The S78 is a little bit firmer and similar to Vibrams XS grip, so it gives a little bit more rigidity to the shoe. This would be a great first shoe for those looking at climbing both indoors and out, and also those who are looking for something that's really high quality and well made in Europe. The original Unparallel Mocc is an absolute cult classic and the worthy successor of 510's classic moccasin. But if there was a catch, it's that it wasn't for everyone, and you had to make sure the fit was pretty much perfect. Now, the Mocc Pro resolves that, as it has a single strap that means you can really ratchet down your heel. So if you are heel hooking, there's no risk of your heel flipping off. It also means that when you're trying hard, you can really crank them up and ratchet your foot down into the shoe, which is a benefit when you're trying harder problems. On the flip side, if you are looking for a chilled circuit, you can just fold them over nice and loose, and they'll feel like the Mocc usually feels. Lovely and comfortable to climb in. The strap only adds on £5, so these come in at £125, and if you still fancy classic, the original Mocc is still available at £120. For 2027, Unparallel have updated the Regulus, which for those fans of the originals in 510 equates to around a high angle. Now, the big change is around the 3D molded sole, which means it should retain its shape for longer. So we've got the synthetic model here, which will give a little bit, but because of the abundance of rubber around the top and sides of the shoe, as well as that 3D molded sole, it won't give a lot. The Regulus, much like the high angle, is a really good performance all-rounder, and this update should improve its lifespan as well as the level of performance it offers across it. For spring/summer 2027, La Sportiva have completely updated the Solution range, including both the Solution and the Solution Comp. Now, perhaps the key change here is that they've made a bigger difference in between the two models. So the original Solution, which is 20 next year, is now that bit stiffer, and the Solution Comp is that bit softer. So they have a very different feel to each other whilst retaining that same DNA and an identical fit. Now, the two biggest changes to the Solution comprise of the closure, which has been updated, and also the heel, which is now that bit more sensitive and adaptable. This comes in both a men's and a women's model, with the difference not being within the fit, but within how soft they are and the amount of tension running through them. Now, the biggest change to the Solution Comp comes from within the use of that Sense Grip technology on the toe patch. Now, this is something that was featured within the Ondra Comp and something that our reviewer, Tim Hill, really rated. This also features that same improved and updated closing system, and there's a difference in between the men's and women's in terms of, again, that same softness, but also in terms of the amount of rubber across the forefoot. In short, the Solution Comp has become more suitable for that competition style of climbing, whilst the Solution has become that little bit more stiff and supportive, thus better for routes outdoors. If there was one shoe that had caused us to raise an eyebrow at the show, it was the HyperEZ, not least because it looks pretty different to any other climbing shoe that's out there. It's definitely got elements of La Sportiva's heritage within making both approach shoes and running shoes, and it's designed for people who basically don't like the feel of climbing shoes. So if you're just starting out and you don't want to ram your foot in something that's really uncomfortable, this is a climbing shoe, but with a very trainer feel to it. Now, it's been designed primarily for the indoor climber, but we think it has just as much, if not more, application outdoors. This would be fantastic on a multi-pitch climb in North Wales, the Lakes or Scotland, where that comfort would be a real benefit. It also features some trickle-down technology from the Ondra Comp in the form of the Sense Grip, which is used throughout the outer edge of the sole. It also comes in at £110, which is a price we've had to check several times, as it sounds too good to be true. You get a lot of shoe for that money. We're really interested to see how these perform both indoors and out.
Big news for Red Chili in 2027 is they are getting Vibram XS Grip 2. It is Vibram's stickiest compound and will be available on multiple models of Red Chili shoes. First up is the Red Chili Andau. This is a super soft, super sensitive indoor focused climbing shoe. It's highly flexible and will be brilliant for jumping between volumes. It comes with a large amount of toe rubber on it and a really nice slim secure heel. That's the Davos rubber on the front and the Ilga rubber on the back. This shoe looks great and it's going to be a real high performer for Red Chili. Next up is the Red Chili Voltage X LV. I reviewed the Voltage X a few months ago and was actually a big fan. I thought it was a great all-round slipper style shoe. This version keeps the DNA of the original shoe but just strips out the volume for those people with slimmer feet. The Redox is the less aggressive of the three brand new shoes from Red Chili. This looks like it's going to be a really nice all-rounder. This comes with a nice toe patch and a refined closure system. It's great to see Red Chili moving forward in their range. Plus, with the addition of Vibram XS Grip, I think this is a massively positive step for the brand.
The Boreal Lynx has always been the jack of all trades. It's been used on routes such as Rain Shadow at Malin Cove, and also throughout James McAfee's 100 Lakeland Extreme Solos. Now, within the Lynx 3.0, it's definitely had a significant shift up in its level of technicality. This is a shoe you could use for top-end bouldering, sport climbing and trad climbing. Perhaps most noticeable is this toe patch, which is 1 mil of Zenith Ultra. That's Boreal's stickiest compound. Now, this complements the Zenith Pro on the base, which is designed more with edging in mind. The heel has been refined significantly and it now features the same heel as the Boreal Synergy, which also has Zenith Ultra on. That's the sticky compound. Basically, they've used the stickiest rubbers where that stickiness would be a benefit, and then the firmer rubbers where you would want it for edging. Again, this looks like a massive step up from the previous version of the Lynx, and we look forward to using these next year. Boreal have produced some truly revolutionary shoes over the years. The Fire being the first ever shoe to use sticky rubber, and the Ninja, which was the first to use a slip last. Now, 40 years on, they have produced this 40th anniversary edition of the Ninja, which is a completely reworked version. It is encased both top, bottom and back in Boreal's Zenith Ultra 2 rubber. That's their stickiest and their softest compound. And this is a supremely soft and sticky shoe. It does have a midsole, so it's slightly more supportive than their Synergy, but not by much. It is a really, really soft shoe. At the back end, it features Boreal's Synergy heel cup, which has been really well received, and it's significantly narrower than the previous version. When it comes to fit, it is pretty high volume. This is designed to be used with your toes knuckled up against the end for top performance. For Spring/Summer 27, Salewa are bringing out the Mountain Trainer 3. Now, this has been described one buyer at the show as the best foreign designed Scottish mountain boot. It's designed for 3-season use, but it has a lot of differing applications. You could use it on technical terrain, be that scrambling or mountaineering, or for a multi-day hike where that additional support and that shock absorbency is going to be a benefit to your body when you're out and about day after day after day. It features a durable Pervanga leather on the upper and a really robust Vibram sole on the base. It looks like a really good all-round boot for British use. The Mescalito is Scarpa's mountain approach shoe, and historically it very much sat at the mountain boot end of the approach shoe spectrum. Within the new version that's out for 2027, it still has those mountain approach shoe credentials, but it feels more approach shoe than it does mountain boot. And I think that's going to be something that more people prefer. Now, the Mescalito is something you could use for just about anything, whether that's hiking, scrambling, approach whilst climbing, or things like the Cooling Ridge. The Mescalito really can do just about anything, even more technical terrain like climbing. One of the big changes within the new version of the Mescalito is the rubber EVA blend within the midsole. Now, the idea behind this is it gives that shock absorbency and bounce of EVA, but the rubber element also gives it that longevity too. Now, having owned previous versions of the Mescalito, they are a shoe that lasts for just about ever, particularly the uppers. And if you do ever wear out the sole, you can simply get it resoled, and they go on for years and years and years. Scarpa's Ribelle range was the brainchild of the late alpinist Uli Steck, and the origins of it were very much about blending mountaineering, but also within running technology and lighter weight materials. And the Ribelle GTX very much continues that tradition, and it complements and contrasts with Scarpa's other B2 boot, the Manta, perfectly. That being a very much traditional B2 boot, and this very much being in the new school mould. It features a PU platform, and you can see it's exceptionally low profile. It's designed to be used on the move, and if you are stopping and starting, it is a boot you're probably going to get that bit cooler in. It is remarkably stiff given how light it is, as it features a carbon and TPU midsole. The other major change is the addition of Gore-Tex Invisible Fit. Now, this gives it a much more true to size feel than a traditional Gore-Tex lined boot might. If you're up in Scotland in winter climbing ridges, or out in the Alps in summer and on the move, then these would be perfect for that purpose. In the next few weeks, Evolv will be releasing the Shaman Trance, and this represents the very pinnacle of the Shaman collection, which many of you will be familiar with. Now, the big difference within this is the use of their Evo 74 rubber compound. Now, this is significantly softer and stickier than any other they have used previously. And in terms of application, indoors, it would undoubtedly be suitable for bouldering and sport climbing, and the same outdoors too. Now, perhaps unlike some really soft, sticky rubber shoes, it actually has a good degree of support. It still features that love bump, which automatically gets your toes into that knuckled and powerful position, and it's available in both a high and a low volume version. Now, the specs are exactly the same in terms of the construction, but for the fact that low volume is 6% narrower and 6% shallower. We've already got a pairing for review, and we'll be publishing that as soon as possible. The Tenaya Aruma has just hit the shelves in the UK. Now, this is Tenaya's softest ever shoe, and it also features the highest amount of tension as well. It's designed for performance bouldering both indoors and out. And this is something, due to how soft and sticky the rubber is something you want to be using on the likes of gritstone or sandstone, but indoors it would also be incredible, especially if you're padding around on big volumes. Now, I've had a pair of these to test for the last couple of months, and the first thing I was struck by was just how comfortable they are, and also how much fun they are to climb in as well. You definitely feel like they're a shoe that you can paste your foot on just about anything and it will stick. And the fact that there is a ton of rubber over the toe means you can catch on virtually anything too. The Draxdoor closing system also offers really secure fit, and something that you can crank up if you need that extra edge. They come in at £170 and are available to buy now. The Diamond has been part of the Ocun climbing shoe collection for a while now. For 2027, they are bringing out a higher volume version. The Diamond is a performance top-end climbing shoe, and it's designed primarily for bouldering and sport climbing. It's got a good amount of stiffness and support throughout the forefoot, courtesy of a 3D molded midsole. As a result, it's going to give you a lot of support and also a lot of power when pressing off small edges. It features Ocun's Cat 1.5 rubber, which provides that good balance in between softness, stickiness, but also rigidity, so it's good for edging as well. There's also a good amount of rubber coverage around the toe, which is great for more modern styles of climbing.